Hey everybody, this is Orlando Mergal for Puerto Rico by GPS, the channel for people that like to travel on their own, without a tour, without any schedule, and of course guided by their GPS. And today we are at the corner of Barbosa and San Sebastian Street in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. And the noise you hear in the background is probably somebody preparing for the world famous Fiestas de la Calle San Sebastián that start next week on the 16th of January. These fiestas that are celebrated every year on the third weekend of January, and of course this year they start on the 16th. They go all the way through to the 19th. What I wanted to do was show you where everything happens. Of course, I can't show you the fiestas. I am going to show you some footage of old fiestas. The new ones haven't happened, so I can't show you anything about those. But let's go for a walk and I'll tell you all about where it happens and what happens where, okay? Let's do this. Now, one thing you're going to notice in Old San Juan is that you have cars everywhere. You won't have cars during the San Sebastian Street Fiestas because they pretty much close down the city. But any other day in the year, or whenever for that matter, there's cars everywhere. This is something that a lot of us have protested, and we would like the city to be pedestrian friendly. But the truth is that it isn't. Like you see, there's cars everywhere. So it's pretty much hard to walk around. Now this is the corner of San Sebastián with Barbosa, where we were a minute ago back there. And where you see the chute, the black chute, that's where they cut the ribbon and they start the fiestas. Then the comparsa comes down this street and it goes straight up that way. And that's what we're gonna do, as long as we can. We're gonna go down the middle of the street. If a car comes, of course, we're gonna get out of the way. Then we're gonna take the middle of the street again. The Fiestas de la Calle San Sebastián started in 1954. That's the year I was born. And they were founded by a priest called Juan Antonio Madrazo. He was the priest for the San Jose Church, which is at the other corner of San Sebastian Street, where we're going to be in a while. And the church wasn't doing too good. So he invented the fiestas as a way to collect funds for the church. It was a fundraiser. And he celebrated them for several years until he was transferred to another church, and then the fiestas were stopped. Now this building here, this green building, that used to be called El Colegio de Párvulos. And it was an elementary school for underprivileged children that was run by the Catholic Church. And when the fiestas came back in 1970, Doña Rafaela Valladares, who was the person that was put in charge of the second iteration of the fiestas, made it a fundraiser for El Colegio de Párvulos. So the first iteration was a fundraiser for San Jose Church, and the second iteration was a fundraiser for El Colegio de Párvulos. Now, El Colegio de Párvulos was a private school. It was for underprivileged children. It was run by the Catholic Church, but it was a private school. The school that we had behind us at the very beginning of the street, that school is called Abraham Lincoln School, and it's a public school run by the city or by the central government. Now, as the fiestas start, what happens is that there's a parade. In Spanish, they call it a comparsa, of people that walk down the street playing instruments, singing, and becoming a bigger and bigger crowd as they go down the street. Over here, when the comparsa starts, it's pretty much, I don't know, 300 or 400 people at the most. By the time they get to the other corner, there's 3,000 or 4,000. So they keep adding people as they go down the street, and eventually, when they get to the other corner, it's a really big thing. You're gonna see the footage that I'm gonna insert that's from another fiesta from a previous year, and you're gonna see how it starts little and it keeps on growing. Come on, let's go. So it seems like the government is pretty much dressing up the street for the San Sebastian street fiestas. There's utility workers everywhere repairing lamps and cleaning up the street and whatnot. And when I was arriving here, I noticed that there were 4 cruise ships in the bay. So that's why you have a lot of people here. This is San Justo Street. It's the only street that crosses San Juan from north to south, all the way to the bay over there, and all the way to the Atlantic Ocean over here. San Sebastian Street is pretty much one of the longest streets in Old San Juan. It goes from Casablanca, which was the home of Juan Ponce de León. He never lived in it, but he had it built. His family lived in it for 200 years, all the way to Lincoln School at the other corner. Wow, I gotta slow down. I'm losing my breath. Gotta catch my breath. Buenas tardes. That means good afternoon in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Now this street over here, it looks like it goes all the way to the end. It's called Calle de la Cruz, but it doesn't, because before it gets to the end, it's closed and you have to turn left, then you have to turn right again, and then you'll get to the other side, to the Atlantic Ocean. So once again, the only one that actually goes from the Atlantic Ocean to the San Juan Bay is San Justo Street. One other thing about San Justo Street that might be interesting is that San Justo Street had one of the gates that was knocked down in 1897. It was called La Puerta de San Justo, or La Puerta de España. And it was at the corner of San Justo Street, where you have the municipal parking today. Most people over here call it El Parking de Doña Fela. Well, that's where in that corner, that was where the Puerta de San Justo was. As you can see, walking on these cobblestones isn't an easy deal sometimes. Some of them are kind of broken. So your best bet is to use sneakers, tennis shoes or sneakers. Over here, before we get to Plaza San Jose, let me show you one of the places where you're going to see a lot of activity during the San Sebastian Street Fiestas. This used to be the city's farmers market, La Plaza de Mercado. Today, it's a museum. It's called the Museum of San Juan. It's an art museum. And during San Sebastian Street Fiestas, there's a lot of kiosks that have to do with the different merchants that sell their wares here at the fiestas. Let me show you what it looks like. See? All around, you had different stalls of people selling their wares and their products, mainly farmer products. And after that, it was empty for a while. Then they put together something here called La División de la Comunidad, which was a place where People learned to do different jobs during the beginning of the 20th century. So now when we got to the corner, we're going to turn right going towards San Jose Church or San Jose Square, which is the culmination of the comparsa. That's where it ends. Normally they have sort of a big party every time they do it because they do it more than once during the 4-day weekend. And that's where it happens. Now just a little bit of trivia for you. This peach building over here used to be called Los Hijos de Borinquen. It used to be a bar where the people, the leftist wing of the people in Puerto Rico used to congregate on Fridays and Saturdays. Before that, it was over here. Where you see this guy in black, this guy, his name was Pedro Albizu Campos. He was one of the pro-independence politicians on the island. His story is a different video altogether, but in this building where you have the painting of Pedro Albizu Campos, that's where the original Hijos de Borinquen were. Then they moved it over there to that corner, and today it doesn't exist anymore. So let's continue. We're almost there. We're almost at Plaza San Jose. My wife and I used to come here almost every year. Now it's been a couple of years since we haven't been here. This year we're coming back. And I used to come here to make photos for my other site, Puerto Rico Photography, and to shoot video for Puerto Rico by GPS. And I would walk that entire street backwards. The entire San Sebastian street from one corner to the other, I would walk it backwards. What we do is my wife would grab me by the center of my pants in the back, and as I walked backwards, she would walk forwards in order to guide me so that I wouldn't run into anybody. But let me tell you, walking the entire street backwards, that's not an easy deal. When you get to the other corner, you're exhausted because a doctor taught me that walking backwards, you use different muscles than the ones you use walking forward. And those muscles, they're not as used to exercise as the ones you use to go forward. So when you stress them by walking a long street like San Sebastian Street from one corner to the other, you end up pretty exhausted. Now, what we have in front of us is the statue of Juan Ponce de Leon, and behind him you have San Jose Church, which was restored about 2, maybe 3 years ago. It was reopened. Before that, it was closed for 20 years while they restored it. This is the square. Here's another piece of trivia for you. That statue in the middle, Juan Ponce de Leon, didn't used to be there. Originally, it was in the center of the square where you have Christopher Columbus today at the entrance to the city. That square used to be called Plaza Santiago, and it had the statue of Juan Ponce de Leon in the middle. In 1897, they installed the Juan Ponce de Leon statue over here and installed the Christopher Columbus statue over there and renamed the square as Plaza Colón. Remember, before it was Plaza Santiago. Why was it Plaza Santiago? Because it was right behind the gate that led to land that was called La Puerta de Santiago. People didn't call it that. Most people called it La Puerta de Tierra. La Puerta de Tierra means the gate towards land. Nowadays, it doesn't exist anymore. They destroyed it because the wall that kept the city safe also kept it from developing because it couldn't grow. So they knocked down the southeastern corridor of the wall in order to make space for the city to grow to the west. And in growing to the west, what happened is that everything west of that point is called Puerta de Tierra. And that comes from the gate that was there, Santiago Gate, known also as Puerta de Tierra. So once again, the San Sebastián Street Fiestas. They start again next Thursday, 19th of January. I hope you liked this video and you learned a little, and I hope you come by. You're gonna have a lot of fun. It's not the largest in the world like some people say, not by a long shot. That honor goes to the Rio Festival in Brazil, and it's not even the largest in January, because there's one in the Philippines that brings 2 million people, and this one only pulls 250,000 in 4 days. So it's the largest in Puerto Rico. In my opinion, it's one of the best in the world as far as fun goes. And I invite you to come and have a great time. Bye.